Thank you for staying with us. Now, before we talk markets, now let's, ahead of the federal government's planned 800 million loan from the World Bank to help Nigeria prepare palliatives for poor citizens ahead of removal of petrol subsidy in June. The IMF is advising Nigeria to step up tax. That's what I actually spoke to my first guest, the Director General of NECA. But my colleague, Effiong Ekop, is also standing by to look at this issue from the street lens. From your interactions, Effiong, I know you're there with street traders, workers, and professionals. What emotions are they bringing to this tax matter?
So, you know, in a natural sense, nobody really wants to pay tax, except he's being policed. And so this particular issue, if you ask about the emotions, majority of the people that have interacted with me, they kick against it. They do not want to pay any kind of tax increment. You understand, both individuals and business houses. The feeling is that they are already being overtaxed. They are being overburdened, that the living standards for them is very, very poor. And they even think that the government has so much money available to it. So there is no need to talk about new levels of taxation. And again, because the issue is being suggested, you know, from outside by the International Monetary Fund, which you will say a third-party institution, many of them feel uncomfortable that it is a kind of dictation to us that they do not want to hear, and they are not prepared to pay more levels of taxes. And so that's the feeling. Only very few of them, you know, wish to sympathize with the government. The rest of them, commoners, transporters, drivers, traders, that I've talked to, they say no need for new levels of taxation. After all, VAT was increased not quite long ago from 5% to 7.5%. And that also, you know, takes a lot of money from their pocket. So that's the situation. The emotions that you ask, emotion is negative.
Effiong, let's take it further. And let me say that some people say that the tax system in Nigeria, can they say it's unfair to the common people, while the rich and the super rich pay next to nothing. I don't know if FRS was looking at this at a particular time, but what do you think about that?
Really, that's the general feeling. They feel that the rich and the super rich in Nigeria, they do not pay taxes that are commensurate with the level of wealth that they have amassed, and they feel that majority of them are taking this money off the sweat of the commoners. Those of them that have spoken to me, they point to the lawmakers, both in the states and the federal levels, that they earn so much. Why don't we try to take a little above, you know, what they are earning now? That's the suggestion, that we should be, the commoners should be left alone. The rich, the CEOs, the managers, the directors, chairmen of companies, that they are super rich. They have enough. The government should find a way to tax them. And then those that are outside the tax net, the government should be able to bring them in. But those of them that are already paying to government, they should be left alone. They point to poor infrastructure in the system, especially poor supply of electricity. That despite the fact that majority of them do not have a supply of electricity at home, they are made to pay, and with increment every time. And so all this is supposed to, you know, move into government coffers. The government should leave them alone. And so it is still very, very negative when you mention tax and then the payments of more monies into government coffers. Solu?
Stuff there. But I'll wrap up with saying, do you think the increase of tax would help, you know, wealth creation, production, and improve living standards of the people? Many will say, aside from states like Lagos, where we see what our money is being used for, some are not really excited to pay.
Well, any kind of tax increment will bring more money, more revenue to the government, both at the federal and state level, even in the local government areas. And then more money taken from the pockets or purses of the commoners. And so if you talk about production, it is the way the government spends this money after being taken from the people. if the government puts into upgrading or even building new levels of infrastructure and permitting the people to draw from there to be able to help themselves, then production levels could be increased. But otherwise, if the infrastructure still remains the way it is at this poor state, at this level, it therefore means more money taken from businesses at the local levels or the pockets of commoners or workers. They have very little to spend on food items or healthcare services and the rest of others. But the government will certainly have enough money. And so we look forward to government being able to spend and then give a kind of transparency to the way it handles taxes after collecting from people. It is because majority of the people don't trust the way government handles taxes. That's why they seem to say enough is enough. They do not have enough again to give to the government. Supposing we were able to point to so many of the things that these taxes are being spent on, and you are convinced that more money is coming into the government's hands will mean more infrastructure or better life for the people, I think there won't be argument. But right now, enough work needs to be done by the government to convince the people that it needs more taxes to be able to handle the governments of the day. So,
thank you so much, my colleague there, Effiong Ekop, the streets of Lagos. Thank you for bringing us up to speed with talking about this topic of discourse, tax. What are the proceeds used for? That is what Nigerians will ask you. Which comes first, the chicken or the egg? But let's move